Hello, friends. It's me, Dee Dee. I think today is just a vigilante day, a day for me to be a voice for the voiceless and to hopefully get some things rolling in the right direction for people that have been victimized in various ways. Today, I'll be talking about Mica's list. For those of you not familiar, Mica, we'll call her Mica Francis because she was in the midst of trying to get a divorce from the toxic abuser. Was unfortunately found deceased. The ruling of self-deceasement, self-unaliving, as some are calling it. Many people think that her estranged husband, I don't know if he was her ex-husband yet, we'll call him estranged, that he was responsible for this. I am calling him Mr. M because to call him by a birth name gives him more of a almost a cutesy sound, like, oh, he's this nice little guy named blankety blank. And I won't do that because I personally do not like him and think he should have been locked up a long time ago, actually. And I think many people feel that. He has so many things against him for various things he did in the past that he never paid a debt to society for. They just slapped him on the hand and said, oh, okay, that's all right. You're a minister, so, we'll just let you get back at it. Same thing happened with his father. Got pretty much slapped on the hand because he was a minister. We'll just let you get back to God's work. Gosh, this society is so messed up in so many ways. All right, y'all. So I'm not going to take forever on it. I'm just going to get through it. If anybody has questions, that's awesome. Hopefully this is all in public. Let me just make sure real quick on my settings. It should be, because I don't know that I put it in private or anything like that. Let's see, recording layouts, guests. And you will be able to come up to the panel if you want to discuss this, by the way. I will just invite you up. I'm hoping this records onto YouTube as well, not just here on StreamYard. I don't know if it's showing up on YouTube. Let me just check real quick here. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. It's not showing on YouTube at all. So maybe it's not going to work that way. Well, anyway, regardless, I'll just record this, and if I get viewers, that's great. If I don't, that's fine too. Maybe it just doesn't work that way on here. It doesn't show up till later. Maybe it doesn't show up at all. I don't know. In that case, maybe I should also record it through my phone. So, oh, nope, there's one viewer. Type in hello just so I know somebody is actually seeing this, because I haven't used StreamYard in forever, and I don't know if it's directly posting to YouTube right now, because it's certainly not showing up on my phone if it is, but that could be the whole IP number or whatever. Who knows? All right, let's get back to Mica's list here. Let's see. I've got to make it bigger because I cannot see it. All right, just so you know, I'm using this with fair use. This is Mica's list. I will go through what Mica has claimed had happened to her in her marriage with Mr. Miller. And I will also share some similar situations of experiences that I have had from narcissists, although in no way, shape, or form, disclaimer, am I saying that I went through anything close to what Mica did? Because I certainly didn't. I was with the lady for 6 weeks, 10 weeks. I don't even remember. I think it was 10 weeks. It might have just been 6, though. Whatever, it was a long time, and it was torturous and awful. But I did not end up unalived at the end as Mica did. I would not, personally, I didn't have as bad of a circumstance. And I decided back then that absolutely this will not destroy me. I will climb my way back up and out of this muck and mire. I will find answers. I will find out what on earth went on here and what I need to do about it. So, yeah. Okay, so Mica's list. Here we go. It says, keep in mind all the following allegations were taken from Mica's verbal story, her diaries, journals, and writings she left behind regarding her husband, John Paul Miller. Mr. Miller has not been arrested or charged with any crime related to Mica ever. I'm only reading that because that is what it says on this list. I am not calling him that. All right. Isolating her from family and friends. So he cut her off from her family and friends. He took her contact list and confiscated her cell phone, and hid it from her. He hid her cell phone from her. He told her that her family was using her. They're not good people and she should disassociate from them or with them. Forbidded her to spend time with friends, questioning her incessantly about it so that the harassment outweighed the benefit of having friendships. So basically, anytime Mica went and visited friends, when she got back, he would harass her. He would, what did you guys talk about? I'm putting this in here as a guess on my end. What did you guys talk about? Where did you go? Did you talk about me? Did you tell him what happened the other night? That kind of harassment. And I'm not saying she said that. I'm saying that's what I imagine happened. Though that's from me, not Mica. But basically what it did say was that the harassment outweighed the benefit of having friendships. I experienced this in my first marriage, where my ex-husband was so loud on the phone yelling at me when they would call me that they stopped calling. And a few brave souls said, look, the reason we can't call you anymore is we can't handle listening to him yell at you, and you're just taking it. And we can't do it. We can't watch you go down like that. So yeah, that was one thing I went through, definitely. And it got to the point where I couldn't even have friends. And the only friend my ex-husband did like was a lady that was horrible, bipolar, angry, vindictive, manipulative, just flat out wrong, messed up individual. And that's who he said, oh, I wouldn't mind you being best friends with her. And yeah, it would just incite me to just such rage and anger, because I'd be like, yeah, you want me to be friends with somebody who is so mean and so ugly behaviored, but you don't like any of my friends that are good, godly people. So yeah, we used to have a lot of fights about that. Okay. The next thing, B, depriving her of basic needs. He would not let her sleep, kept her up at night, pulling the covers off her every time she dozed off. Can you imagine you're just drifting off into that REM sleep and bam, somebody pulls the covers off, so you're shivering and freezing, or you're sweating if you have like a cooling blanket. I don't know what she slept with, but nonetheless, somebody disturbing your sleep has got to be like one of the cruelest things to do, especially if you have trouble sleeping, which if Mica did have mental health issues, she probably did struggle with sleeping. A lot of people do that have mental health issues. So he kept her up at night, pulled the covers off her every time she dozed off, threw her clothes on the front lawn of their home. I don't know what that was about. Waking her up and screaming at her incessantly to the point she had to leave to go to sleep in her car just to get some peace and rest. Man, I can't tell you how many times I spent time in my car because of the screaming, the yelling, the belittling, the abuse in front of my kids, the verbal abuse. He was mostly a verbal abuser, my ex. Hold on a second. I'm going to turn the air on because it's really, really hot in here. Super hot, and I can't take it. I'm going to turn this down and turn off Eco. There we go. Hopefully that will cool me off. If not, I'll turn on the big one. All right, so let me get back to my list here. C, stalking, tracking her whereabouts. He hired private investigators to follow and track her, put multiple GPS tracking devices on her car, and then after they separated, he followed her by GPS tracker and then would drive by very slowly to make sure she saw him. He would walk into any place she was and go up to the table or area to make a comment or stand afar so she could see he was present. Oh, that's creepy. Creepy. So he would track her from a GPS and then show up wherever she was. and just kind of stand off in the distance and look at her like that, I guess. Or come up to the table where she was sitting with her friends and say something. I don't even know what he would say. It says make a comment. I don't know what kind of comment. It wouldn't matter. The point is, he was giving her the message, you're never alone without me. I know exactly where you are 24/7, and I can show up at any given moment. It's creepy when someone does that. I will tell you, my dad, who I wouldn't compare to this man at all, he used to do that. Like, I don't think he did it in a belligerent way, but from the time I was very, very little and my mom divorced him and he had visiting rights, and even after he didn't have visiting rights, he would show up at this one corner drugstore. So, like, I'd get out of school and there'd be this red car sitting there with him standing outside of it, just waiting for me to come up to him. Now, he was my dad. So, of course, there was no fear there. And I'd run up to him, Daddy, Daddy, and, throw my arms around him. And he'd buy me candy or talk to me about how school is going or whatever. He was breaking probably a order of protection rule or something my mom had against him. I don't know for sure. But he would just do this like sporadically throughout my childhood. And when I least expected it, there would be that red car and him standing there. It was creepy. And I still remember to this day the feeling I would get. I was excited to see him, but it was just an uneasy feeling. Like I didn't know when he would be there or he wouldn't be. It's very confusing to a child's mind to do something like that. Anyway, welcome in people that are coming in. Thanks for heading in this way. Okay, let's continue on. Monitoring her communications is D. He took her cell phone. Oh, did I say that already? No. Took her cell phone, went through her text messages and call logs, and claimed he found 18 people had texted her that they were willing to listen to her if she wanted to talk about him and the problems she had with him. He said this in a sermon. I actually heard the sermon. He admitted he went through her cell phone. He's like, can you believe she talked to 18? There are 18 people that are willing to help her from her problems with me. Yeah, like he's all that and a bag of chips, and she shouldn't reach out for help if she feels, attacked. I get the whole Bible thing about women submit to your husband, wives submit to your husbands. He took that one step way too far to the point of coercive control, and that's what we're talking about here today. How humiliating. And I think she was sitting in that church service when he said that, but I'm not sure if he was. I think she was still alive at that point, probably hearing him say that, which made her feel even more embarrassed and more scared of him. Because when you know that you're trying to get help and the abuser finds out about it, and then they're preaching it on a Sunday to everybody, yes, I know you did this. I know you're talking to people about me. She must have been shaking in her shoes. I know I would be. That's just cruel. That's psychological abuse is what that is, doing that to somebody. Now, that did happen to me with the former narcissistic pastor's daughter. I guess you could say she was kind of a pastor's wife too, if you consider her ex a pastor. I didn't. He was a minister, but they both were co-ministers in their church. And she did that to me, where she had asked me if I thought she had an issue with affection because she wouldn't hug me all the time or whatever. And I said, yeah, I think you do. I think because you were abused as a child and, as a wife with your ex-husband, that maybe you have a little problem with hugging. And then the next day with her mother sitting there, she goes, Mom, and I was there too. Mom, do you think I have an issue with affection? I was dying. I wanted to crawl under the darn floorboard going, is she seriously bringing this up right now? To her mother in front of me. That's what narcissists do, y'all. And then they look at you like this and watch to see how you're acting. Is it affecting her? Is she squirming? Am I making her uncomfortable? Narcissists love that stuff. They love it. And that's the kind of garbage that this idiot did to poor Mica. And in front of a whole church, actually. He hacked her email, her iCloud account, and Facebook account and took over her identity. So I think what that means is he was typing to people pretending to be her. Who knows what he was saying to them? Hopefully and prayerfully, people that were her true friends knew that it wasn't her just by the character and the method of communication. But narcissists are very good at mocking and mimicking. So he could have really sounded like her and said wordage that she used, verbiage. I don't know more about that. Okay, E, taking control over aspects of her life. He controlled who she could associate with, where she could go. All aspects of her life, as stated herein throughout. Took her driver's license, wallet, purse, car, and house keys, and changed the locks on the doors. Wow. So he took her driver's license away, her wallet, her purse. I imagine she was driving probably without a license by default because she had no choice. She probably had to get places. Maybe she had to go get a duplicate license. I don't know. They don't say. But he took her wallet, purse, and car and house keys. Oh, he took the car too, so she couldn't use that when she wanted to either. So here she is. She comes home from work or whatever she did during the day, wants to, hop in the car, or she comes back from a friend's house and looks for the car and it's not there, I'm guessing. Or she can't find her keys. Or she can't get in the house because he changed the locks on the doors to his wife. Yeah, that's not cool. Okay. Yeah, my ex used to, I don't remember if he took my phone, but he used to threaten to take my phone. What he did was he refused to pay bills. So I didn't have a phone because I couldn't afford to put time on my phone back when we had cell phones. Or he wouldn't pay the phone bill when we had the desk phone. He'd say, you don't need that. You don't need to talk to anybody. You got all of us. You got 3 daughters. You got me. What else do you want? You don't need friends. Stupid stuff like that. Cruel, selfish, isolating things. Depriving her of support services. He took her cell phone, her car, Apple Watch, and convinced her she did not need a lawyer. From the pulpit, he gave a sermon and chastised her and any woman or man that texted his wife that had encouraged her to confide in them about her husband, the pastor, thus shutting down even a private confidant. She became afraid to speak out. So he shut down every form of communication. Every time she tried to reach out for help, he shut it down. He made her feel ashamed. He made her feel scared. Yeah, that's why I'm not giving him the birth name that somebody gave him, his parents, if you call them parents. I know his father was no kind of parent. I'm not calling him by that name. In fact, I have a cousin named the same name, and he is way more of a man than that man ever has been or will be, unless he seriously has a major shift in something. Okay, G, expressing her worthlessness. He told her that she was lazy and mentally, I can't read because the page is over. I think it's mentally imbalanced or something. Don't quote me on that. You can look at the pages yourself. You can look them up. Just look up Mica's list. He told her that her breasts were too small, that her family was ignorant and they used her, and that she was not a good Christian woman if she questioned him or did not submit to him or keep his dark secrets. Now, I was watching a interview with her sister today, and she kind of alluded to the idea that, well, in our church we forgive and we walk by faith and not by sight, and we're not the judges and the jury, and me, I don't hold to that, and I'm very Pentecostal. But when it comes to abuse, that's a whole other level of things. Me personally, I could not harbor a secret like that for very long. I probably would have ended up unalived by the person too, but probably a lot sooner, because I would have been speaking out from as soon as I saw, one instance of anything I questioned that became a pattern. Like, he's not letting me talk to my family. Oh, boom. I'd have probably moved out into my family's home and stayed there, most likely, and tried to press charges. I don't know, though. I'm not her. I can't say what I would have done if I was her, because I'm not her. But if I was me in that situation, and I have been me in similar situations that didn't escalate to that point, because I got out. But it took me 23 and a half years to get out of my situation. So I'm not bragging that I'm anybody. I'm just saying, nowadays, no, you don't do me that way. Not without consequences. I don't even know if we have the law against coercive control in Illinois. I'd like to know. I have to find out, do some research on that. I do know I have a law against somebody telling me I can't hang out with my family. Because, buddy, they were here long before I even knew you existed. and you will not divide me from my family. That's not happening. Okay. As far as him saying her breasts were too small, he made her go and get plastic surgery. So they had one wedding. She had the surgery a few days later or a week later or whatever. And then they got married again, like within that year, I guess. So that she could have, I guess, bigger bosoms for the second wedding. Oh, my Lord. Somatic narcissism right there. Got to have you look a certain way. You don't present me. You don't represent me the right way. So you've got to change yourself so that you make everybody think that we're like this power couple, I guess. And he told her she was lazy. Oh, yeah, my ex did that all the time to me. Definitely told me I was mentally ill. I think that's what it says, mentally ill. All the time. He would rile me up to the point where I would just lose it and be screaming and crying. And he'd say, look at her, kids. Look at how she acts. Do you see me acting that way? That's why your mother sees a therapist and I don't. I don't have to. Yeah. Narcissism. Okay. Told her she was not a good Christian woman. Oh, yeah. He used to do that all the time with me. What kind of Christian are you? You're no kind of Christian. You're supposed to submit to me. You always talk about the Proverbs 31 woman. Are you being like that? I think you need to go talk to your pastor or talk to your therapist about it. Yeah, all the time. If she questioned him or did not submit to him or keep all his dark secrets. Oh, yeah. Anything that happened with my ex-husband, the abuses that he went through, I couldn't talk about it because it's over and done with history. We don't talk about that. Yeah. You have to keep the secrets, even if they're dark ones, even if they're secrets that if they got out and got talked about could help everybody else in the family. No, we're not going to do that. I don't want anything to do with it. It's over and done with history. That's what he used to say. That's what he still says. And of course, he praised his abuser. So, Stockholm syndrome right there. Okay, H, humiliated, degraded, and dehumanized her. He forced her to submit to humiliating acts. I won't say the word, but you guys get the drift. Physical acts involving inappropriate intimate moments, we'll say, that disgusted her and hurt her. So he's not only stripped her of her communications with other people and ability to find some kind of confidant in somebody, he then also stripped her of her very essence of a woman. So he used her and then made her use herself with other people against her will in disgusting ways. He'd tell her she was mentally ill and have her hospitalized against her will. Yeah, he committed her to the hospital, the mental hospital. He put her down for having ideas or getting inspired by outside influences. So she wasn't allowed to think for herself. No. No creative anything going on there. Not if he didn't approve it. You're not allowed to think for yourself. I tell you what to think. My ex-narcissist did that to me to an extent. She wanted me to believe in God and follow him the way she did and have the kind of relationship exactly that she did, but constantly told me I would never get there, no matter how hard I tried. She had this special with the Father that I could never have. That was her way of putting it. Telling her or others that she fell for anything. She's not smart. Then he uploaded a semi-nude photo of her to the internet, then later sent her an apology email saying that I only had it up for an hour. Not many people, got to see it. As if that minimizes that your own husband sends a picture of you half nude to the internet. Well, it was only up for an hour. It should have just been, oh my gosh, Mica, I am so sorry. I did something so stupid. I was angry at you. I posted this picture. I am so sorry. I took it down. But nonetheless, I know I can never undo any damage or any, hurt that I caused you by doing that. I am so sorry. I don't blame you if you don't forgive me, but I'm just asking you to forgive me. It will never happen again. That's an apology. Not, well, sorry, I had a bad lapse in judgment. I was angry. I wanted to hurt you, so I posted it, but I promise you it was only up for an hour. What? What? Oh, man. Yeah. AKA, I'm sorry you caught me is more like it. or somebody did. Wow. Okay. HI. Prevented disclosure to authorities. When Mica would threaten to expose him, he would ramp up his abuse and tell her that if she did, then she was not a Christian woman, not a dutiful wife, and she was acting like the judge. Only God is the judge. Okay, that was what Mica's sister was saying on the thing I watched today. Well, it's not my job to judge. I really can't say, what I think. No, I'm sorry. Judgment begins in the house of the Lord. Y'all want to quote the Bible? Quote the whole thing. Righteous judgment. The believers are to judge with righteous judgment. That doesn't mean to say, well, you're going to hell or you're going to heaven or God's going to punish you, that kind of thing. You don't know that. I mean, yes, God does punish evil. We can say in a general way, well, for this sin, this is what God did in the Bible. Maybe that'll happen to you. Maybe it won't, But to actually condemn somebody and say, well, they're going to hell. No, we can't judge in that way. But what we can judge with a righteous judgment is the behaviors. They could have said, Mr. Miller, you are out of line and you need to stop preventing our sister from coming to us. We're going to get an order of protection out against you, and we are going to go and, take action against these things you're doing. Now, I don't know that they didn't do that. Perhaps they did, and the laws are so messed up in North Carolina, apparently, that there's no help for victims there, or very little, from what I can see and what I can tell. So maybe they did reach out and do that. I don't know. But from listening to her sister, she's still of the mindset that it's not okay to pass judgment on the actions of another to the extent that you say, look, this is wrong, this is evil, this goes against the Bible, this goes against goodness of humanity, and we want it stopped. She's very hesitant to say that. Maybe she's afraid, and I don't blame her. He lives in her area. She's still living there. I'm sorry, but I think the first thing I would do if that happened was move the heck out of the area if he's still alive and walking around. I would not want to be in that area at all, knowing he's out there lurking about. Ugh. Anyway, next, I'm sorry, we were just on that. My bad. Only God is the judge. She's required by the Bible to protect him and not disclose what he did to her. In fact, according to him, the Bible says she's supposed to forgive him for his abuse, and as a dutiful wife to obey her husband, tolerate the abuse, and if she does not, she's sinning. That has nothing to do with what I'm talking about, Gladys. I will not address that. This is about Mica Miller, Mica's law, and coercive control, and getting a law against it. Okay, so he's telling her, you have to let me do to you what I'm doing and go along with these crazy things that I am doing with these other people in inappropriate ways, or else you are not submitting to me. You are in rebellion, woman. You need to get your act straightened out. Yeah, that's kind of stuff he told her, things along those lines. Next. For one thing, regarding that, when I was with the former narcissist, I'll never forget when I first visited her trailer, her home she lived in, and I was left alone for a few minutes with her mom. After they had banished the children, I do mean banished, my mom's here, we're going to have church talk, go to your rooms, with nothing to do, literally nothing. These kids had no toys. I will never forget that. Their rooms were bare and pristine. They weren't allowed to have toys like kids were. And when her mother came and they had to banish them to the room, her mother turns to me and says, I still think children should be seen and not heard. So I knew if she felt that way, that children were to be silenced, because I was a spiritual daughter to my mentor, the narcissist, that I didn't dare tell anybody what was going on in their home. And I had a feeling some really bad stuff was going to happen while I was there to me. And it did. But I didn't tell anybody in the family because children should be seen and not heard. So, yeah. Okay, financial abuse. He removed her from bank accounts, told her she did not know how to manage money, but required her to pay her own car payment, car insurance, and medical bills. That sounds familiar. My ex-husband did that to me. He took me off all of the accounts, all of the bank accounts. It was all in his name. The house was in his name. Everything was in his name. That way, when I did decide to leave, I didn't have much of anything. I didn't leave with much of anything. I had to leave everything behind and go live in a shelter, several shelters for 3.5 years. I raised my daughter Amber in shelters for 3.5 years. And we went from school to school to school because we had to keep moving. But oh yeah, he got the house. He got the. I think I took the car. I came and got it the next day after I settled in at the shelter. That's a whole other story. I had a friend help me move into the shelter. More of an acquaintance, not really a friend, but an acquaintance. So yeah, everything was in his name. I had to eventually get my own bank account, get the car in my own name with my own insurance and all that. I had to do all of that. Threats to hurt her, her family, or himself. K. If she hinted of exposing his abuse, he threatened to commit suicide or that he would jump off a bridge. He also made similar threats if she said she wanted to leave or divorce him. That's borderline behavior right there, big time. And a lot of narcissists have borderline personality disorder traits. That's very borderline. If you leave me, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll take my own life. I'll end my life right here. You know, he might even threaten to do it in front of the kids for all I know. I knew a lady that I actually tried to help with her children. I was living with my foster parents at the time, and I went to her house, and she literally grabbed a weapon from the kitchen drawer and held it up and said, I'm going to blank myself in front of all of you, including my children. And I don't care. I don't care. And I was saying, don't do it. Don't do it, please. Please don't do this to your kids. I was terrified. I was like 19 years old. I was a kid myself still. And here's this lady who's like 1,000 bricks short of a load, just flipping out and threatening to off herself in front of everybody, including her children. It was scary. Very, very scary. And to this day, she's not right in the head. Unfortunately, I don't know what happened to her to make her that way, but I felt for those poor kids that were standing there. Three of these little kids, little eyes looking up, scared their mommy was going to just do something horrible in front of them. Can't even imagine how those kids are today. You know, I don't even know. So yeah, he threatened to do away with himself if she was going to leave or divorce him, or if she refused to return to him. Like if she left, she didn't want to come back, obviously for obvious reasons, after he threw her out or after she left, I guess. Then he also threatened her family with pow pow, as people are calling it, so they don't say the word. He threatened to divorce her if she did not obey him and if she did not take the pills that he gave to her. That would terrify me. Y'all know I hate pills. If somebody said, I'm leaving you if you don't take these pills. This might have been before all the other violent stuff happened and she didn't know that he had violent tendencies. I don't know. Because I think the pill thing happened pretty quickly within the marriage, if you call that a marriage, within the dictatorship, disguised as a marriage. And if she wouldn't take the pills, he threatened to leave her, basically. Remember, narcissists create a dependency in you. So when they threaten to leave you, that's another form of tormenting you and punishing you by saying, you know, I'm going to leave you. A lot of times they'll say along with this, and I'm not saying he did, but they'll say, and if you tell anybody that I left you, they're not going to believe you. They're going to believe me that I left because you did such and such and I couldn't handle it or whatever. They make it all about they're the hero, you're the villain. M, threats to reveal or publish private information. He would make videos of her in private settings and then threaten to upload them if she did not do what he wanted. He convinced her to send him a topless picture meant only for the eyes of her husband, and he uploaded it to the internet when she did not comply with his demands. So I guess they added that on as like a adjunct to what she said before about how he posted the picture. So he was taking pictures of her in probably provocative positions because it's his wife. And that was for him to see. It was not for everybody on the internet to see. Sad. Okay. He kept many pow-pows and other weapons in their home. He punched holes in the walls. I had an ex-boyfriend that did that. When he would get mad, he'd punch holes in the walls. And the friends of him would just like make light of it. Oh, yeah, he's got that. I'll name his name. Jeff has that problem. When he gets angry, he punches holes in the wall. But that's just because that's how he handles his anger. No, that's not okay. He has anger issues. He needs help. You know, he never got help, but he is remarried. He's a nurse and he's happy ever after, whatever. Okay. He always, I guess, said he was armed and ready and demanded that she leave her sisters and come home. I think he said that on a phone call when she was away at her sister's, trying to get away from all of the intense torment. I think he told her he was armed and ready, if I remember that video correct, but don't quote me on that. He kept her in a constant state of panic and fear that she would do something to trigger him. You know, don't poke the bear type of attitude. Ugh, insane. Okay. I think this may be this is the last page. And then I got to go. I have some things I got to do. We'll just say he forced himself on her in very compromising positions. For instance, while she was in a hospital bed, he forced her to perform things against her will and demanded that she also watch him doing things with others and told her to sit still so other people could touch her against her will. I mean, is there any justice in flipping North Carolina? Do you not investigate these things? Do you not question people? Do you not? Well, maybe you are investigating. Maybe the FBI, who said they're investigating, is still investigating this. I don't know. I don't know if somebody's diary holds any weight in a court of law. Probably not. It's probably considered like their perception or hearsay or whatever. I don't know. But I'm sorry, but I don't see where people would make this stuff up. I just don't. So, yeah. And then he told her and preached on Sunday that if she did not submit to his every request for it in any manner that he desired, then it was her fault if he got his needs fulfilled elsewhere by any gender. Unreal. Unreal. Okay. P, preventing her from having transportation. He slashed 5 of her car tires. He put razors in her tires, which could potentially cause her to have a wreck with her car. He took her vehicle that was titled in her name and paid for by her solely, only by her, and hid it from her. He hid her car, y'all. Hid it. In order to be able to get to work, she had to buy a second vehicle, which gave her 2 car payments to have to pay and the insurance on both of them. He took her purse, her driver's license, and her car keys to prevent her from leaving the house. This man was a monster. Absolute psychopathic, sociopathic monster, in my humble opinion, and maybe not humble, in my outright opinion. Q, interfering with her work. When she worked at the church, he would randomly fire her for disobeying him, and then he'd hire her back if she agreed to certain acts to do them with him or someone, or some other list of demands that he had. He allowed or wrote letters to her on church letterhead, demeaning her and putting her down. On church letterhead. So he's tying in God and spirituality with his abusive garbage now. On church letterhead with the church's name on there. She had to leave a job she really loved, the church, and take a job in a restaurant industry. So she loved being involved in her church, but he made it so bad for her, she couldn't even stay in the church. working in the church. She went and got a job in a restaurant, which I'm not downing restaurants, but I would prefer to work in a church over a restaurant personally, especially if those are your beliefs, you know. This is sad. So those were what she told, and wrote in her diaries and everything. I don't know exactly who she told it to, but it's all written down here. Number one, emotional abuse. Everything stated above and below, and even more that cannot be told due to the humiliation of it to the victim, Mica. Two, ignoring requests and commands to leave her alone. She asked him over and over and over to leave her alone, but he would not. After a police officer warned him to leave her alone, he trespassed into her gated community to leave a present or gift on the top of her car. I don't know what that means, a present or a gift. It doesn't sound like it's anything savory that we want to know about. Three, cruelty to her dog. He threw her belongings out of the house and then demanded that she come get her dog. She could not keep the dog at the apartment she was staying in at the time, and he knew that. When she did not immediately get the dog, he took the dog to her apartment and tied the little dog to the front door handle. He knew that she was not home, and he left the dog there. She had to leave where she was at the time to go home and get the dog. She found a home for the dog, but when he found out about her giving the dog to someone else, he went there and demanded the person to give him the dog back. Oh my. How heartbreaking to mess with somebody's pet like that. How heartbreaking for Mica, for the animal. This man needs to be locked up. Police officials, if anybody watches my videos, will you please hear my heart and investigate into this thing if you can? I don't know how much our states around the United States can intervene in another state, but I know we send people in the military to other countries. So can you just intervene in this state and talk to these policemen and tell them to look deeper into this situation? Number 4, destruction of property. He intimidated her by damaging her property, breaking her things, giving away her things, throwing them in the trash. He keyed her car, dented the hood with a dumbbell, backed into something, damaging the trunk, and slashed the tires and cut up the passenger seat. Evil. Evil, 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 narcissistic and evil. I can't even believe that this is something that nothing can be done about. Wow. And there's more of her list. That was page 3. I think I don't know. I'm trying to see if there's another evidence of this list anywhere, but I don't seem to see it anywhere. But I gave you 3 pages of it, so hopefully that will, point you in the direction to seek it out if you want to know the rest of what he did. Just horrible, horrible. Yeah. I don't even know what to say. What I do know to say is we need to enforce the coercive control law that prohibits people from harming other people and doing all these horrible things and getting away with it. There needs to be consequences to this stuff. There needs to be consequences. And the interesting thing is the coercive control law was brought up in North Carolina, I think in 2021, and just got kind of shoved away in a drawer. Nobody did anything with it. They just shoved it away, and it was never heard of till people found it. Somebody found it and said, whoa, why didn't we have this law enforced during all this? Mica might still be with us if that was the case. If we could have stopped all this evil stuff from happening and arrest the perpetrator. Coercive control is defined as a pattern of behavior that on purpose or in purpose or effect unreasonably interferes with a person's free will and personal liberty, including but not limited to isolating a person from friends, relatives, other sources of support, depriving them of basic necessities. Let's see if I can open this up and read the rest to you. controlling, regulating, or monitoring a person's movements, communications, daily behaviors, finances, economic resources, or access to services, or compelling a person by force, threat of force, or intimidation, including threats based on actual or suspected immigration status, to engage in conduct from which the other person has a right to abstain, or abstain from conduct in which the other person has a right to engage. It was Mica's right to do what she wanted with her bodily form. He had no right to force her into acts she did not want to do, force her into surgery, force her into committing herself. No, 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 no. Justice for Mica, justice for Mica, justice for Mica. Maybe if I say it 3 times, it will happen. Because I know in the Bible, things were repeated in order to bring them into manifestation. I believe in manifestation. So in the name of Yeshua, my Savior and my King, may it be that this law gets enacted, and I can rejoice with Mica's family when that happens. And I'm going to believe in a miracle that this can happen, because that's what I want for Mica. That's what I want for every victim, male and female, and any gender, mixed gender. I don't care if you think you're a tree, a house, a car, a mouse. It doesn't matter. You do not deserve to be abused. And if you are in a dangerous situation right now, maybe some of these things have happened to you. Maybe none of these things have happened to you. Please seek out a safe person and ask for help. I know it may not seem like there's answers out there, but there's answers for everybody. God says, seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be open. You need to ask and you'll receive. Just ask. If you need help finding resources where you live, I'll try to hook you up with somebody if I can. I have a computer. I can map things out for you. I'm happy to help you. Please don't suffer alone. Please don't give in to the abuser if you don't have to. If you can get out of there safely, get out of there safely. Do not ever, 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 under any circumstances, if you decide to leave your abuser, do not tell them. Please don't tell them. Do it when they are gone. Do it when they're on a trip, when you're sure they're not coming back. And have a safe person waiting for you in some area far away from where you are to pick you up with whatever things you can grab. A pet, if you can grab a pet, if they'll allow you to have the pet, bring it with you, get out of there, and go straight to the police station. Straight to the police station. Tell them everything that's going on. Tell them you are terrified to go home. Please don't send you back there. This has been going on for X amount of days, months, years, whatever, and get help, please. And there's numbers you can call that will help you. I can't guarantee anything because I know we live in a very corrupt, messed up world, and sometimes people feel like they're not believed and sometimes they're not believed. But I'm a voice who cares, and I'm a person that will listen. If you need help, and no, I'm not going to charge you any money to talk to me either. Email me. I will leave my email below this video. Hopefully this video posts without a problem, at least to YouTube, because it wasn't posting on my YouTube area. So hopefully it'll post on the YouTube area when I'm done. Just please reach out. Reach out for safe help. You don't deserve to be abused. You don't deserve to have somebody take your things and ruin them and sell them and hide them. You don't deserve to be forced into acts you don't want to do. Mica didn't deserve any of that. And I understand her sister wanting to do the godly thing by not judging this man. But I will judge with a righteous judgment. And I will state that Yahweh's judgment is just. And whether something happens on this planet or in the next eternity, if there be one, and I believe there is, you will be accountable. You will be held accountable. And then we'll just leave you in Yahweh's hands. So anyway, that's all. I need to go do some things here, but I wanted to speak out on behalf of Mica and the law against coercive control that we're trying to get going for Mica. Yeah. And I'm probably going to share this video with a few people I know that are also speaking out on Mica's behalf, because it might be very helpful for people to hear these things. Not everybody has time to read Mica's list. So I've just read it for you and talked about it and shared with you how I've also gone through similar things, although not to the extent she went through. After 23 and a half years of verbal, emotional, psychological torment and abuse, and yeah, a little bit of physical here and there, that was it. I had enough. I got out. And yes, I still associate with the person that abused me, but it's a whole different level of things. I do pray for anybody involved with the abusers in my life that they're not harmed, but I don't see that happening. I think enough years have gone by and things have happened health-wise to individuals that that's not an issue. Does not forgive or excuse or erase any of the hurt and the abuse that I went through and that others have gone through because of it. But you have to forgive and move on at some point. And forgiveness does not mean that you say that what they did was okay or you never speak about it again. At least as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't. All right. Anyway, thanks for listening to me. If you did, and if you do, you want to subscribe, like, share the channel. No, I am not monetizing this video, although I probably should and give that money to the Francis family. Yeah, I think I will. I'll monetize, and then any money you give me goes to the Francis family. I will know because it'll be, hopefully, if you remember, put in honor of Mica or justice for Mica or something if you do decide to send me money to my PayPal. Okay. Anyway. Yeah, I don't know about all that stuff, Miss Gladys, about Rubini and Rodney and all the and KCL and Phil, and I don't get into any of that. I already had my little brouhaha with the other situation I mistakenly involved myself in, thinking that I was being treated as a friend, but obviously that didn't happen. So I really don't want to engage in any of that. I'm sorry it's happening. They haven't come to me one-on-one, so there's nothing I can address about it. I'm sure they're figuring out ways to work it out. All right, y'all. I love you. Thank you for listening. I appreciate every one of you. Kind souls out there, friends. Maybe even the frenemies. Don't know about the enemies. I don't appreciate you. You're toxic, and I pray that you change your wicked ways. So, yeah. Have a wonderful day, and I will talk to you on the next stream. See ya.